100%.
Lining up the right manager with the right asset is absolutely critical. And then, of course, within that, you know as well as I do, property managers very rarely do I ever talk to anybody and they're just over the moon about the property manager. You know, unfortunately, they get the crap beat out of them a lot. And, you know, property managers are few and far in between. The good ones. I mean, good property managers are few and far in between.
I always tell everybody the heartbeat of investing in real estate, at least in multifamily, is the management. Whether you're doing it or a third-party management is doing it, it's the heartbeat of the business. And if you let that fail, you could lose it all.
Lose it all. That's right. That's right. But we were talking in the green room, and you guys did acquisition. We did a lot of acquisition. Really, you know, I think recently our focus has really shifted more towards development and net lease. And I think you guys pretty much do a lot more development now, it sounds like. I think, didn't you say you have like several projects going on right now, currently? Let me tell us a little bit about the projects.
Yeah, so for the first time ever in our whole career of investing in real estate, we started doing our getting into development. And we have 3 development projects going on right now. One broke ground just about a year ago, and we should be done May of 2023. And that's about 173 units here in Davie, Florida. It's our first one, so that one's going to be very exciting. Then we have one in Orlando, or Vito. It's a city out in Orlando, and that one is in the 200 plus units. It's a Class A with a multi-use, which we've never done multi-use, but the city required it. So this is going to be the first ground up with multi-use. So it's exciting also. And then we have one in Tennessee that we actually own this property. 7 years ago, we bought it, and it was already a triple net lease with a aviation motor school. It's called Lincoln College, and they teach students how to, you know, work on the motors of these cars and boats and so forth. And the lease is coming due. It's in an area that's very up and coming. We're very excited. We're going to knock down the building because it's a very, very old building, and it was done for student housing. So they're only studios. So we're going to knock down this building and create our third ground up.
Very cool. Very cool. So that mixed, you said mixed use, right? That one, the second deal you're doing. So that's going to be sort of, what are you picturing in there? Are you picturing like restaurant or something like that, or what?
So you know what? Right now, that's what we're consulting with multi and realtors that deal with the storefronts, and we're trying to see in the area what is their needing of for the multi-use, because you know, these multi-use, sometimes you get them and it struggles because either the parking lot is too tight because you already have the tenants that live there. So parking space is kind of like a struggle. Some businesses don't want to be in an apartment buildings. Others love it. So we're now consulting, but we're thinking about the, you know, healthy place for like a eatery type of thing, not too huge of a restaurant, because you don't, like I said, parking. We don't know if a small bank would like to be there. A dry cleaners we were thinking about. So we're right now 100% don't know what it's going to be, but that's what we're working on at the present time, of what we're going to be putting in those stores fronts in the bottom.
I think I mentioned in the green room too, we're doing the Rockefeller here in Cleveland. We have CBRE, I'm not plugging CBRE or anything else like that, but we partnered up with them to find the right tenants for this location. So we've talked to several national tenants already. But to your point, the right tenant for the local neighborhood, because they eventually become part of the neighborhood, and the asset is valued depending on who's in that bottom floor. And in our case, we're in a high rise here. So if you have Starbucks versus an unknown coffee shop, because they have a Starbucks, they both serve coffee, but because you have a Starbucks is worth more. The corporate lease makes it worth more. So therefore, it drives the overall valuation of the asset more. Those are all very serious considerations when you're trying to pick out who's gonna occupy this very serious discussion internally, I'm sure.
Yes, 100%. And it's kind of stressful for us because we've never done it. So we hired a consultant, their best advice. And then we, from there, study it and then evaluate what we feel is right. Cause we also know how to run businesses. So we're like, we'll take their advice, we'll put our, team together, and then we'll collaborate and come out with the best outcome for that building.
But it sounds to me like, again, we're talking about this in the green room too. You guys are going to be doing a lot more development as we go into the future, right?
Yes, for sure. Like I said, this is our first 3 properties that we're doing this development. But what we've come to when we underwrite these deals, even though that the materials, that labor cost, that everything is super expensive, at the present time, it just makes more sense to develop a multifamily than it is buying existing. So the cash on cash, the cap rate, whatever you want to, underwrite it as, it just makes more sense. When you're purchasing buildings today, you're having to buy at a 2 to 4, and you're like, really? And when you underwrite to develop a new deal, we're underwriting at a 6 to 8. So we're like, wait, so again, like we had talked about in the green room, it does have pros and cons. And, if you get into development, ground up buildings, you'll have 3 years that you're receiving 0 cash flow and you're having to implement cash into the deal for the first 3 years. So if you don't have enough cash flow from other investments to carry you over, you really can't do it. So that's one of the reasons why we never even looked at it, because we just didn't have sufficient cash flow to keep us afloat to develop. Now, luckily, in the stage that we are, we have enough cash flow from our other investments that could keep us afloat for the 3 years. And then we have this amazing building that'll be, cash flowing way better than all the other deals. Bobby and myself, my husband, we don't do syndication. We don't take in investors' money. This is mine and his money that we have, that we've stacked to rack into investment. So we have to be very careful at the very beginning. But now we've gotten to a stage that we are going to be doing way more development because it just makes more sense on the cash flow return for our investments.
Yeah. Certainly the syndication model versus just using your own money. Obviously using your own money, the return is going to be way, way, way better for you guys than it would be for a syndication personally. That's the greatest thing about it. But yeah, you're right though. Whether it is a syndication or if you use your own cash, you're waiting out those 2-3 years, depending on how long it takes to develop that asset. So yeah, it's definitely a waiting game, but I think at the end, when you start leasing it up, you're typically getting, and I try to mean this with the utmost respect to the audience out there, getting better quality tenants. You're not dealing with people going through the property and tearing it all up or whatever. And the refi on the exit too. When you go to refi this thing in 3 to 5 years, is going to be that much greater, especially in a place like Miami or some of the areas you mentioned in Davie, Florida. I used to live out towards that area, so I know that it's a very strong area, and in Florida, it's still in very high demand. So I can't imagine it letting up in the next 3 to 5 years, and it's just going to be a phenomenal investment. Long term, it's going to be great.
Yes,
that's
definitely.
Gonna be super. So, Sophia, what sort of bulletproof advice would you have for someone listening right now? What would you tell them if they just heard our interview and maybe they're on the fence about actually taking action on something?
Like I said in my story, having the tenacity, having goals to be able to get there. I always love to tell everybody, have a huge goal, but have stepping stones to really take this, and you create a bulletproof to get to your goals, and you do it stages by stages, perseverance, and learn from your failures instead of getting scared from your failures. You will get there. And I'm not telling you you're going to get there in one day, but you will get there if you follow your project to get to your goals. But be focused, have perseverance, and don't let no outside noise get in your way. Put those blinders on like the horses do and just look at your goal, and you will get there. You would definitely get there. Just don't jump from level 1 to the sky, because you're going to fail and you're going to fall really hard.
Yeah. Love it. All right, guys, if you want to reach out to Sophia, you can reach her via her website at Sophia. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you got some really good insight in really setting goals and knowing that it takes a high degree of effort, perseverance to really get what you want. And I think if you follow your heart and really commit yourself to doing some great things, you can do the same thing as Sophia and her husband did as well with her business, built a phenomenal company there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Bulletproof Cash Flow Show. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had fun. Make sure to visit our Apple Podcast page and leave us a 5-star review. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. For real estate coaching, events, and resources, hit up Bulletproof. Till next time.